Yeah, just a minute, it is taking YouTube.
It is live streaming now.
Yeah. Jananim Sharadam Devi Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukasvarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Dear devotees, because of Navaratri, Dasara, we had a 2 weeks class off. Again, we are trying to discuss and think about Drik Drishya Viveka text. I hope most of you remember where we have stopped. So we try to discuss 3 types of seers and 3 types of seen, Drik and Drishya. The first was the seer was the world, the seen was the world, and the seer was sense organs. And the second, again, the seen became the sense organs. Then the second seer became the mind. And the third seen became the mind. And the third seer became, or the soul or the self or the Atman took the role. And seer is only, absolute seer is only one, that is the Atman or the self. And it is always the seer and it is never the seen. The world is always seen, it is never the seer. Whereas the mind and the sense organs, they take both roles, seer and seen. We try to discuss. Now, after discussing these things, the author gave a wonderful meditation techniques. Here, samadhi means mostly we should probably, we should understand in the sense of concentration. So there are 6 types of concentration techniques the author is trying to discuss. Now, 5 types of techniques we discussed, we try to know, and it is a wonderful exercise. You need not to close your eyes. You need not to maintain one place. You need not to maintain for a particular time. This meditation, Vedantic contemplation, Vedantic meditation, can be practiced by anyone at any point in any place. Even you need not to close your eyes. Maybe eating, maybe working or talking or sleeping, whatever activity you might be doing, even at that given point of time, you can do this Vedantic meditation or the Vedantic contemplation. Now, if you see in the Savikalpa Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the fundamental difference, what happens? In the Savikalpa Samadhi, when we are discussing, there willfully you are trying to practice. Maybe you are trying to think about the nature of the Atman based on the Upanishadic ideas or the Bhagavad Gita's ideas or based on the teachings of the saints. So you are forcing your mind consciously, willfully to think about the self, or to think that you are the self, not the body and mind. So if you are consciously, willfully, when you are trying, sometimes it is possible, sometimes it is not possible, but it keeps on happening. It keeps on happening based on our intensity, based on our purity of mind and whatnot. But once it becomes spontaneous, once it becomes natural for us, without even thinking, without even trying willfully, it becomes so natural for us. That is what the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi we should understand. So just for an example, as soon as you get up, you purchased a mobile. Till yesterday, there was no habit of seeing a mobile. Now you got the mobile, Android phone, and you got the internet. So as soon as you get up, first day you saw any WhatsApp message has come, or any email has come, or any Facebook, anyone interesting posting. First day you saw, fine. Second day again you remembered, or you didn't do it. Third or fourth day you did it, and again for a few days, no. So here willfully you were trying to do it. Consciously you were trying to do it. But after doing several days, as soon as you get up, without even your thinking, without knowing, your mind or your sense organ hand goes automatically to the phone, and it starts, even before getting up from the bed, you start browsing the internet, or browsing the social media, or just seeing the WhatsApp messages or whatever. It becomes so spontaneous. And sometimes it can go to the subconscious mind. Even in the dream, you might be browsing the internet, you might be seeing the social medias, and you are using the phone and you are experiencing something. So initially you practiced, afterwards it becomes a habit. So when it becomes a habit, willfully, consciously, you need not to do it, automatically it happens. So in the Savikalpa Samadhi, you are practicing Vedantic contemplation. I am the consciousness. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not the thought. I am not the feelings. So you are consciously practicing. Or I am the witness. So being a witness, taking the stand of the witness, you are trying to observe the thoughts which are crossing in the mind. Now, doing it time and again, the state may come that it becomes so natural for you that you will start thinking always, or this idea keeps on coming, it will be prevalent that you are a witness, and you are being a witness, you are just observing the thoughts, observing your body actions, observing your mind or mental actions, observing the people. So this is what happens in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So one type of Nirvikalpa Samadhi we had seen, Antar Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Now Bahya Nirvikalpa Samadhi we were supposed to see. Now we shall see this Nirvikalpa Samadhi. How can we practice? Stabdhi bhavo rasasvadat trutiya purvavan mataha yetai samadhibihi shadbihi nayet kalam nirantaram. The insensibility of the mind to the external objects as before, on account of the experience of the bliss, is designated as the third kind of samadhi in the internal type of samadhi. The practitioner should uninterruptedly spend his time in any of these 6 kinds of samadhi. So in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, by the time when your mind reaches to the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, it becomes natural, it becomes spontaneous. You say concentration, or Vedantic thought, or Vedantic contemplation, or feeling that, experiencing that, thinking that you are the self, you are the consciousness, you are the witness, you are Sanatana, you are the Nitya, you are Achala, you are Aja, and whatnot. All these things, it becomes so much so conscious, spontaneous and natural that it goes deeply even to your subconscious mind. Means it can happen in such a way that even in dream also, you will start thinking that you are the witness. All of us, we get dreams, different dreams. So the Vedantic student who has seriously thought and who has practiced to a certain extent, he may get the dreams of Vedantic contemplation. In the dream, you are thinking that the whole world is dream, and you are trying to negate the world as a dream, and you are trying to take the role, or you are trying to practice that you are the witness. You are the subject, never the object. So to that extent, it can go. So when this Nirvikalpa Samadhi, when your mind reaches to that stage, when your mind gets established, well established in this Vedantic thought, in the Vedantic contemplation, what happens? From that, the Akandakara Vritti, which is called technically in Vedanta, sir, it is discussed in detail. Akandakara Vritti will emerge. Akandakara Vritti is, Akanda means it is very big, or it is a complete whole big circle. Akanda, Akara, big circle. Vritti is again thought. So it is a one big thought, big circle, like one. It is a continuous thought will emerge. What that thought? I am the Brahman. I am the self. Again, I and Brahman, the difference between I and Brahman will be minimized. It is very closest proximity. I and Brahman will be that. I am that Brahman. I am that Brahman. I am that Brahman. That Vritti will be there. Say for an example, how to understand this? Say for an example, someone of you or someone of us have got a first prize in the 1,500 meters running race in the state level competition. The prize has been announced and you have been given the gold medal, and the certificate was given, photo shooting was happened, and now you are traveling back to your hometown. That may be 200 or 300 kilometers. You are traveling, you are trying to message to the known people, you are trying to share with WhatsApp status, and you are trying to speak with your people, friends and family, relatives, all these things. So for some time you did all these things, now everything is done and now you are keeping quiet. If there is no real change, big change, your mind again consciously or unconsciously will be thinking about your achievement. Your mind gets soaked completely about that you got the first prize, you got the gold medal, you got the certificate at the state level competition. So that will be very prevalent thought. There may be people coming and going in the vehicle or nearby. You see so many things, but your mind may not catch it in them anything. Your mind will be completely absorbed or soaked in that you are the prize winner. So when this happens, when your mind starts thinking so deeply, feeling that you are that Brahman, you are that Brahman, you are that Brahman, this Akhandakara Vritti will be emerged. It will rise. When this happens, what happens? This Akhandakara Vritti destroys the ignorance. This is what the phala, fruit. This Akhanda Brahmakara Vritti will dispel the ignorance that I am the body and mind. I am so and so. Many times we are obsessed with our body and mind, our external paraphernalias, or our achievements, or whatever. That's all okay. But when this Akhanda Brahmakara Vritti, when it rises, then our ignorance is removed, destroyed. Then what happens? Then you will start experiencing that you are the self. Then what was earlier? There was a thick layer of ignorance was there. I and Brahman were two different things. I and Brahman, I and Brahman, I and Brahman. But when this Akhandakara Vritti, it rises in the mind and it removes, it washes out, it clears that ignorance, the layer of ignorance, then I start experiencing that I am that Brahman. There are no two things, I and Brahman. Only the experiencer will be there, and the experiencer, the act of experience, and the experienced, the object of experience, all three things gets merged. So when I say all these three things get merged, it is not physical merging, it is only cognitive experience. So the removal of ignorance, the destruction of the ignorance, again, it is not at the physical level. Just like there was an obstruction, I broke the wall, then the obstruction was removed. Then someone had put a thick sheet of paper, thick sheet of a plastic fiber. I removed it, I broke it, then the obstruction was removed. There's a physical obstruction has been removed. Here, the intellectual obstruction, the cognitive obstruction has been removed, and I start experiencing that I am that Brahman, I am that Brahman. So this is what the important thing which we have to understand. This is very subtle. The same thing when it comes to Bhakti Yoga, we say Ajapa Japa. There are so many monks we have seen and heard in their cases. Even they stop, even they sleep, they eat, they are talking with someone, but their mind will be repeating the Lord's name. The earlier, most revered President Maharaj we have seen, Atmastanji Maharaj. He was in 95, 96. He was bedridden. He was unable to talk most of the time, at the last end, but still his hands were getting moved and his lips were continuously, it was getting moved many times. So why it was asked? Then the Sevak said, because he has done a lot of japam in whole of his life, unconsciously, his mind is repeating the Lord's name. His mind is doing the Ishtamantra japa. And the Sevaks, the monks who served him, they say that even when he went to coma also, his lips were moving and his hands were counting the Lord's name. That means how much deeply the japa, repetition of the Lord's name might have entered in his subconscious mind. So these things are even today, it is possible. It is not mere speculation. It is not mere intellectual explanation or thought process. It is possible. So this is what we have to understand. And the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi has been beautifully explained by the author in this one word called Rasavada, Rasasvada. Just like when you are having a hot, delicious rasam, like a coffee. If you are a lover of coffee or tea, when you get a beautiful coffee or beautiful tea, you will feel so happy. Even when I went to Himalayas, 21 kilometers we were trekking Gangotri, Tapovan and all. Whole day we didn't had any food and so much cold. A lot of physical difficulties we had. Then when we reached the Tapovan, 21, few thousands feet, we had to walk on glaciers and all these things. When we went at morning 5 o'clock, we started with a cup of tea and maybe a few nuts we had only in our pockets. We ate, that's all. Then the night 8, we reached the tip of the Tapovan, and there Babaji gave a just black tea, nothing else. And when we had a first sip, though I'm not a tea lover and I hardly take tea, but that day when he gave a just black tea, I felt that I am having a nectar, I am having an amrita. Because one is hungry and that cold, just even hot water, just a black tea was so delicious, so tasty. So if this is with the food, then you can imagine Rasaswada means when you get into that Nirvikalpa Samadhi, when you go to that state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you will experience the heavenly bliss, immortal bliss, unalloyed bliss. That is called Rasaswada. Sachit Ananda. So that Ananda Swarupa we are all. So that was obstruction was there. Obstruction has been removed at cognitive level. Then you are experiencing the self, experiencing the Ananda. So in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that's what it happens according to the author. Rasaswada. And also he says, Stabdi Bhava. Means here mind completely gets soaked, absorbed in the Vedantic thought. His mind doesn't think anything else. His mind is arrested with the only Vedantic thought. Now, this is the difference between the Sankhyan's Nirvikalpa Samadhi and the Vedantins Nirvikalpa Samadhi. In the Sankhyan's Nirvikalpa Samadhi, mind gets completely blank. The Purusha and Prakriti gets split. It gets separated and there will be no thoughts at all. Thoughts will be completely arrested. But whereas in the Vedantic Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the Nirvikalpa Samadhi according to the Vedanta, there will be only one single thought which is related to the self or the Atman. So this is what we have to practice as much as possible. So when we hear all these things, we will get clear picture is Vedanta means it is not mere thinking. It is not mere study. It is not mere speculation. Rather, it is meant for practice. Though, of course, it is an oversimplification I'm doing. It's practical Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda, time and again he said, Vedanta, it is not meant only for monks. Vedanta is not meant only for few people. It is for everyone. And he also goes to the extent saying that, quoting the Upanishads, actually the Advaita Vedanta or the Vedanta came not from the forest initially, not from the monks, not from the rishis. Rather, it came. Initially, it came out from the king's palaces. The kings were the most busiest people in those days, and the Vedanta came out from them. Afterwards, slowly, the monks and the rishis, they learned, and afterwards, they were the caretakers of the Vedanta afterwards. But initially, the Vedanta has been developed, or it emerged in the palaces, in the king's palaces, among the kings. That means what? Vedanta is much more prevalent for the busiest person. Revered Swami Raghunathanji Maharaj used to say always, the Vedanta is essential factor for all of us. If you are more busier, then you need more Vedanta. Why? You will become a better human being. You will become a better doctor. You will become a better engineer. You will become a better housewife. You will become a better monk also. So it is it is a philosophy of practice, not mere thinking, not mere intellectual speculation. This is what you have to understand very clearly. So here, the concentration will go in an uninterrupted way at the cognitive level the ignorance is removed and the knowledge is well established or experienced. That's what we can say. And how is this possible? For the Patanjali says very clearly, which is very important for all of us. Dirghakala, Nairantarya, Satkara Sevito, Druda Bhumihi. 3 conditions he gives for practice, Abhyasa. Patanjali in his Yoga Sutras. What is that? Dirghakala. It should be for long time. It is not for one day, it is not for 1 hour. 1 hour I do meditation, 1 hour I do Vedantic contemplation, and 23 hours I do all other things. No. As much as possible, we will do all our mundane affairs and take care and responsibilities we shall discharge, but this way, any sadhana, Vedantic contemplation or any sadhana, it should be for long time. Dirghakala. And Nairantarya. Nairantarya means Nirantara. Okay, today I did for 2-3 hours. And tomorrow I did for 2-3 hours. For 1 week I did for 2-3 hours of Vedantic contemplation. Then afterwards, again, for 1 or 2 weeks, I left. And again I started. For some 2-3 weeks I did. Again I gave a gap. Then again I started. No. Nairantarya, Nirantara. Constantly. Till experiencing the self, we have to do it. That's why my Gurudev used to say always, there is no spiritual holiday. There may be holiday for the kitchen. There may be holiday for your office, but there is no spiritual holiday at all. So every day we have to do this. Nairantarya. Then Satkara Sevito. This is Satkara Sevitaha. This is very important. We have to do with the zest. We have to do with the enthusiasm. Oh, Swamiji has said we have to do japa, it seems. Our Guru has said we have to do meditation, it seems. We have to do some Vedantic contemplation, it seems. So mechanically doing for half an hour, 1 hour, or 2 hours, or whatever. No. Okay, that something is better than nothing, no doubt. But it should be Satkara Sevita means it should be with full of enthusiasm. This practice has to be done. Either spiritual practice, or studies, or meditation, or worship, or service, whatever it may be, with enthusiasm, consciously, willfully, it has to be done. Then what happens? Then you will reach the goal. Your spiritual practices will be well established and you'll be able to reach your destination or target. Now, in the 30th verse, the author discusses, though which is a known fact for all of us, but still, as a matter of fact, because of the Anubandha Chatushtaya, that is Adhikari, Vishaya, Sambandha, Prayojana. Prayojana is the 4th factor. What is the result? What is the use by practicing this Drik Drishya Viveka? By doing the Vedantic contemplation, by doing the Vedantic meditation, what is the result I am going to get? If someone asks, that has been discussed or described in the 30th verse by the author. Dehabhimane galhite vignate paramatmani yatra yatra manoyati tatra tatra samadhayah. With the disappearance of the attachment to the body and with the realization of the Supreme Self, whatever object the mind is directed, one experiences samadhi. Again, samadhi is concentration. See here, 2 things he's telling. One who is detached from the mind and body. And the second is experiencing the self in everything, in every way. So one you can say abhyasa, the other you can say vairagya. Detachment from the body and the mind and the world. So detachment is what? It is not again physical detachment. It is a mental detachment or it is a cognitive detachment. Because if I say that you have to detach yourself from the body and mind means, should I separate myself from this body and mind physically? No, that is not possible. Only after death it is possible. That is not in our hands. It is only the cognitive detachment. That I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the thoughts. That is detachment. And this is a vairagya, detachment, and the abhyasa is what? Of course, it becomes spontaneous by this time, that he or she will be experiencing the self in everywhere, in everything. This is what we can see in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, many places. He practiced the presence of the mother, divine mother everywhere. When he saw the prostitutes, when he was taken into the red light area, he was not aware of it, but he was taken into the red light area and he was kept in that particular house. When he saw the ladies of ill character, he never thought of anything. He never ran away or he never scolded them. No, he kneeled down and he just started bowing down to them, saying that, "Oh, mother, you have come in this form today. I am very happy to see you." See, he started seeing the mother even in them. And one day he was going in the horse carriage. Some young European boy standing under the tree with the crossed legs. We all know how Krishna will stand with the crossed leg. So just a European boy standing in the under the tree with a crossed leg. We might have seen this type of things many places, many times we might have seen. When Sri Ramakrishna saw that, immediately it reminded him of Sri Krishna and his mind went to trance. So in every flower, in every object, or in every person, the people who have attained that Nirvikalpa Samadhi, they will be seeing the divine. They'll be seeing that God, or they'll be seeing the Supreme Self. That's what it happens according to the author. And we can see even in the life of Swami Vivekananda also. When he had a divine touch by his Guru Sri Ramakrishna, he started experiencing the self everywhere. It so happened he went to house, mother served the food. He's taking and he's trying to eat. Sometimes he's able to and sometimes he's not able to. Why? Because the plate and the rice and the lentils or the dal and the person who is eating and the person who is swallowing, everything is looking Brahman for him. He's unable to eat. So this is, again, it is not a matter of speculation. It is a matter of experience. One who reaches Nirvikalpa Samadhi, he will be able to see the divinity everywhere, in everything. That's what, after the experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi and all, Sri Ramakrishna was unable to do the external worship. Why? Because he was unable to pluck the flowers even. Because when he's plucking flowers, he used to feel that there's a pain, or he was seeing that divinity or the Supreme Self everywhere. Hence, he was unable to pluck the flowers. He was unable to do the formal worship even. So this is one of the important factor. One is detachment from the body and mind happens automatically, and the experiencing the self in everywhere, in every place, in everything happens. Now, this body identification, I want to tell one or two important things which we have to think. See, body identification happens two things. One is because of which is samanya, natural. Natural is because of the prarabdha karma. Now, because of my previous past actions results, I have taken this human body. So when I have taken the human body, naturally the human instincts, as the human species, Homo sapien, being that belong to that species, some natural character, natural traits will be associated with that. That is called Jati Vasana in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Then other is because of my actions, because of my repeated actions, which we say that habit, by that we get a lot of, we form our characters, we form our habits, we cover some more layers of ignorance, which is special in nature. That is entirely depending on us. So there are two things. Now, since you are living in the body, some traits, some identification, some things which will be there, that we will think afterwards. But because of the ignorance, because of the wrong habits, because of the wrong cognition or wrong notions, we have got a very strong body identification that has to be removed, that has to be checked by the proper habits, by the right habits, which is called bhogavasana. So, by doing a good actions, all bad actions results should be nullified or it can be checked. And by doing good actions means what? It is just cleaning the mind, so that it can reflect the light, Atman's light in a proper way. And also, because of the ignorance, we are doing all this, we are performing all the different type of actions and we are perceiving the world as real, all these things. That when we do the Vedantic contemplation for the longer time, intensely, with the enthusiasm, the ignorance will be removed. Then there will be no problem at all, even staying in this body. So that we have to understand. Now, objectively, if you see, the self the part of the Sat is more given importance, and when it is taken subjectively in the sense from the point of subject, then the Chit part is more stressed. Ananda is which is included in the both aspects. Now, the result of the experience of the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, or the realization of the self, or the experience of the self, has been told once more by the author by using the, or by quoting the Mundaka Upanishads. Mundaka Upanishads verses or shloka. Let us see. It is also often quoted shloka, and it is a wonderful verse also. Vidyate Rudaya Grantihi Chidyante Sarva Samshayaha Chiyante Chasya Karmani Tasmin Drushte Paravare. By beholding him who is high and low, the fetters of the heart are broken, all doubts are solved, and all his karmas wear away. Now we will try to understand every part of this verse independently. It is very, very important. Now, beholding him who is high and low. What does it mean? Beholding means holding him, sticking on to him, holding him means whom. Him means whom here? Him means the self or the supreme self. You can say Atman, or you can say consciousness, or you can say Brahman. Fine. Then why he's saying high and low? Then are there two types of selves? Individual self and supreme self. So here Advaita Vedanta is accepting two types of selves. If you ask, it is only for discussion's sake they make the difference. Otherwise, it is not so. One is Para, which signifies the Brahman as the cause of the universe. The Brahman, which is the cause of the universe, which is its nature. And the Para, and the Apara is the lower nature of the Brahman, which signifies that effect function of the Brahman, which is the Brahman is appearing as the universe. The Brahman has been projected as the universe, which is nothing but effect. Now the cause and the effect both are the Brahman and Brahman alone. This is what, by holding to him, by thinking about him, by seeing, by experiencing, we'll be able to understand the Karya and Karana. The cause and the effect both are one and the same. There are no two different things. It is not here. Knowing means you will be experiencing it. Just like water and the waves. When you say beautifully waves, you are experiencing, but after understanding, after hearing Advaita Vedanta, after hearing Advaita Vedanta ideas, after hearing to Drik Drishya Viveka classes, when you go to the seashore, when you start experiencing the waves, you'll be experiencing the waves, no doubt. That cannot be stopped. And you need not to stop it also, no doubt. But you'll be knowing really that waves and the ocean water, there are no two different things. Both are one and the same. Only the ocean water, when it rises and it takes a particular form, particular shape, we give the name called wave, and a particular form and particular name, that's all. Otherwise, the ocean water and the waves both are one and the same essentially. You'll be able to see the waves physically, but internally, there will be a strong conviction in you that the ocean water and the waves both are one and the same. There are no two different things, and the waves are only appearance. It doesn't have real existence. This is what you will understand. Then, fettering away. What does it fetters away? Chidyante. Chidyante sarva samshaya. Chidyante. What chidyante here? That kartru and kartrutva bhoktrutva bhava goes away. I am the doer and I am the experiencer will go away. If I am the self, neither I am the doer nor I am the experiencer. Because to do and to experience, there is the need of duality. There is a need of body and mind. And I am not the body and mind. Self has got a body and mind. Body and mind doesn't have self. This is very, very important, which we have to understand. Self has a body and mind for the function, but it is never that body and mind as the self. Generally, common people think body has got a self. Body has got a mind. Body has got a self. No, it is not so. Self has got body and mind for its own work or for its own purpose. This is what we have to understand. So, kartrutva bhava and bhoktrutva bhava will be removed. I am the doer and I am the experiencer. This goes away. which is nothing but unripened ego, which is very strong in all of us. Recently, one 85-year person, old, is a professor, he was a retired professor, and he was working in one of the top college in the top university in the world. He did some help to us. We are all very grateful to him. We thanked him and all. But there was an event. Previous day he called at late evening. Then I felt the professor is calling at this late evening, which is unusual. There may be some serious issue or whatever. Then I lifted the phone. Then he said, "Oh, Swami, how are you?" "I'm fine, thank you. What about you?" "Yes, sir, also fine." "Then what makes you to call at this late evening?" When I asked, he said, "Swami, tomorrow you have got a function in your center." I said, "Yes." "Then whatever the help we have done, kindly acknowledge there in front of everyone." I was startled. I was astonished. He did one small help, no doubt, or even big help for that matter. We will take it for a discussion's sake. But for that, he has called me at the late evening and he's saying that you should tell that this particular help you have received from so-and-so person, and you have to announce it openly. Explicitly you have to do it. At the age of 85, still he wants that recognition. He wants to enjoy that name and fame. Or he wants to enjoy that kartrutva bhava and bhoktrutva bhava. I was astonished. Even at this age, still it is in so unripened state. It is so in a gross way. Of course, I didn't tell anything. I said yes. And of course, I did it also in the next day event. In my own way, of course, I acknowledged it. I acknowledged his help and other things. Otherwise, also, we will acknowledge their help. Acknowledging the help is a right thing, and we have to do it, no doubt. But demanding for the acknowledging the help publicly is what the thing. So it is only karma, but it is not the karma yoga. And so kartrutva bhava and bhoktutva bhava is very strong in most of our cases. Sometimes we are aware, sometimes we are not aware. Because of that, we get a lot of bondage from our actions. So this we have to check and we have to reduce this. And for an experience, the self-experienced person, he will have neither kartrutva bhava nor bhoktutva bhava. Neither he doesn't think that, neither he thinks that he is the doer, he is a doer, nor he is the experiencer. Then not only that, all his karma phalas will be exhausted. As you know, probably by this time you will be knowing 3 types of karma phalas. Based on the time of its fructification, the fruits of action has been divided into 3 parts. One is sanchita karma, agami karma, prarabdha karma. Sanchita karma is already the results which has been accumulated by your past actions, either in the past lives or in the present life. The results of the actions which has been accumulated in your account. And the agami is the actions which you are going to take in future, and that actions will produce results, and that results are called agami, which you are going to accrue. And this prarabdha, some amount of karma phala you have withdrawn for the experience, either good or bad, happiness or unhappiness or whatever, both the things you have withdrawn, so you have to experience. Now the sanchita karma and agami karma will be destroyed according to the scriptures. Once you realize, experience the self, your sanchita karma, past actions results will be burnt into actions, and there is no question of new accumulation of the fruits of action. Only prarabdha karma stays, and you have to exhaust till your body is there. That is what the most of the scripture says. But if you see, in the aparoksha anubhuti, the author says, the prarabdha karma will be there for even the Brahmagnani till his death. That is, it only holds good from the point of the world, empirical world. It only holds good from the point of Agnani, ignorant. But for Brahmagnani, the prarabdha karma also won't exist, because he never thinks that he is the body and mind. Even he is thinking or experiencing the self, then where is the question of prarabdha karma? So prarabdha karma doesn't exist for him. Even the Aparoksha Anubhuti author takes a different stand, but all others traditionally accept that prarabdha karma has to be experienced by any person. And not only that, but sarva samshayaha chidyante, all doubts will be dispelled. Now when we are hearing, many times devotees ask me, Swamiji, when we are hearing class, when we come to ashram, when we come to satsang centers or satsangs, when we hear all these good talks, we feel so happy, we feel so peaceful, we feel so elevated. But once we go back to the house, or once we start our work again, same thing. Means our samshayas, our doubts are not removed. Our ignorance is not been removed or destroyed. But whereas in the person who has experienced the self, all his doubts, all his questions are answered, are removed. He is free from his doubts. Whether God exists or not, self exists or not, if it exists in what form he is, whether 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 or 100, no doubts he has got about the existence of the self and the experience of the self. All doubts are cleared. So at the objective level, the discrimination happens between the real Brahman and the unreal or the projected universe. At the objective level, actually, if you see. And at the subject level, the non-discrimination exists, or the discrimination happens between the real seer and the unreal or the projected seen. At the objective level, it is between self and the world, universe. And at the subject level, it is between the seer and the seen. Drik and Drishya Viveka, the discrimination between the seer and seen at subject level. At objective level, it is between the Brahman, the self, and the world. So in moksha, what happens? It is only the removal of ignorance happens, that's all. You are not going to get any new thing. If you are getting any new thing, that means there is always the possibility of losing also. So we are losing it. We are not gaining anything. What is the gain? The loss of the ignorance, that's all. This is what Advaita Vedanta again and again it says. It is neither apya. You don't get anything. You don't attain anything. That's why it says it is a state of being, not the becoming. Apya, no. Na apya. You don't get anything. You don't attain anything. You don't achieve anything. Na samskarya. You don't clean up anything. And na vikarya. And no change will happen actually. Apya, samskarya, vikarya, and I think one more is there. I'm not able to read it. Brodhanekar Chandogya, we discussed beautifully. Adi Shankaracharya has discussed this thing in a very lengthy manner, either in Brodhanekar Chandogya it comes. So here only we are losing it. Losing is what? Ignorance. In the layman's language, if you want me to say, it is only losing the ego addiction. The ego addiction which is pertaining to restricted to body-mind complex. So when the Nirvikalpa Samadhi happens, when the moksha we get, what happens? Our ignorance is removed, ego has been dissolved, ego has been removed, our ego addiction has been minimized, or it has been completely removed. In Kannada we say neshe. So that ego neshe has been removed. That's what we have to understand. So this ends the Drik Drishya Viveka chapter or discussion according to some of the Pandits. And if you see the text, afterwards some more 13 to 15 verses, again it continues. Now, with this respect, there are two views, accepted two views. That is from 32nd verse. It is a later addition by someone else. It is what the argument by a class of the Vidwan Pandits. And some other Pandits say, no, it is not the later addition. It is the part of the original text itself. Author felt probably after discussing, still people may have got some doubts. He starts thinking that he discusses about the nature of the jiva in 3 types of jivas. In a different angle here, like Drik Drishya we discussed, he discusses the self, 3 types of self from this 32nd verse. So it is not the later addition, it is the part of original text itself. So there are 2 views. But traditionally when we read, generally we read the other 12 or 13 verses. From the next class, we shall try to understand what are these 3 types of selves, so-called 3 types of selves. Actually, there is only one self, no doubt. But for discussion's sake, we start with the 3 types of self, and the other 2 types of selves are pseudo and they're not real. That will be dropped, and finally it will be established there is only one self, and that is what the Atman or Brahman. That we shall try to see by the God's grace in the next classes. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Yeah, if you got any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Swamiji, one question from your own experience. See, one is when we are talking about some of this Advaitic meditation, you mentioned, you give examples of people who have really attained and are excelled at this. But I'm assuming that, you are probably far ahead of us, but, there is a path all of us have to take. How does one get a sense that, what we are doing is right, that we are progressing in this path? We can't, I don't think we'll become overnight like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, where, we completely lose sense of the self, or completely lose sense of the ego. We will still continue to identify with the body and mind, at least to some extent, at least to some time. But for somebody like you who has experienced more, how do you see the progression? How do we measure that?
Yeah.
How do we
So
think?
first, I said this can be explained probably 2 or 3 ways. One is your reaction to situation and to people will start reducing actually at the external level. If you want me to say at the external level, your reaction to people and the situations will reduce. Just for example, someone, you are traveling in the bus, or you are going in the, you enter the Bangalore metro train. Suddenly someone made a slang remark. Probably you would have jumped on him. You would have slapped on him, or you would have jumped on him, or whatever. Or maybe in the name of decency, you kept quiet, but in the mind, internally, it would have been there was a turbulent reaction. Now, if you're really practicing Vedanta, and if you have progressed in this Vedantic contemplation or the Vedantic way or the path, then the reactions for these external small things will stop reducing. Okay, at the external level. And at the internal level, your identification and your attachment to the body and mind and the world starts reducing. Now you have to depend on many things for your life. You have to depend on your money and bank balance, because for your life or family life, on the food, clothes, shelter, all these things, the dependency cannot be ruled out. But your attachment for all of them will reduce. Okay, this is internal point. This is one thing. And the third thing is, you will get more and more conviction that I am not the body and the mind, I am the self. That automatically it will reflect in your language, in your speech, or in your actions, in your life approach. So these are the few probably blue litmus tests which we can think that yourself one can examine. So how much we are progressing, or are we progressing, or whatnot.
And just on the third one, when you say that you automatically realize it more and more, is it just that you recollect it more often, or that you are not the body and mind? It keeps coming back to you as a thought, like you're saying that it's a constant thought, or it's just a feeling that stays with you. How does?
Yeah, so this can be, probably analyzed in at 2 angles. One is you have to practice as much as possible, more and more. Consciously, willfully, you have to keep on practicing. Okay, the more and more practice, then it gets strengthened more and more. First point. And the more and more you practice, and the more and more you get established in this path, Vedanta, the path of Vedanta, in the Vedantic path or the spirituality, then obviously, when you get into problem, immediately your mind, for example, as I told you, someone scolded you. For probably earlier, you might have disturbed for 2-3 days. Now you disturb for only 1 day. Okay. And earlier, then you had to take some, maybe you might have watched some movie, or you might have went out picnic, or you did something to calm your mind, to bring back your mind into normal phase probably. Now, none of these things will be required for you. Just you will start thinking, your mind automatically starts thinking that I'm not the body, I am not the mind, I am the self, and why I am reacting for all this? Your mind itself starts questioning. Your mind itself starts thinking about these things. Why I am reacting? Why I am reacting and wasting my time and energy for all these things? These things are bound to come and go in this world or in this empirical universe. When I'm the self, then why should I boggle for all these things? Now, for an example, now you are a CEO of a company. Now, whatever you are supposed to do with your clients or with your employees, you are supposed to do, you will do it, but fine. But in the heart of heart, you will not be disturbed by this. As a responsibility, you will discharge your responsibilities, no doubt, but you will not moved by all these things. Your existence will be on the God or on the self, rather on the people, rather on the world. So the part of your existence, it shifts from the world to the self or the God. That's what I mean. One is practice, the other is the fruits.
And one more, not a related question, a completely different track. The author is Adi Shankaracharya, because you keep using author, I'm not too sure who's the
Adi Shankar, I mean, accepted tradition is Adi Shankaracharya, but still there is a debate. So because the text of Panchadashi and the Drik Drishya Viveka goes the text from the grammar and the syntax, the language portion from all these things. So it goes very well together. That's the reason they say Vidyaranya and his guru Bharati. I think Bharati Tirtha also, I think. Not the present pontiff, of course. So they are the two, people who composed this Drik Drishya Viveka. Because if you see in the Shankar Mats, every pontiff is called Shankaracharya. When you say Adi Shankaracharya, he is the Adi Shankaracharya, Shankaracharya Bhagavatpada. Otherwise, every pontiff is called as a Shankaracharya only. So in that way, there can be lapse of the author. But established tradition is Adi Shankaracharya. But there are many people argue that no, it is not from Adi Shankaracharya's work. It is from Vidyaranya and Bharati Tirtha.
So in a way, it is almost a modern text. If it is Vidyaranya, it is 13th century.
Yes, you are right.
So that's why even the thoughts are quite modern that way. It's not like the Upanishads and.
Yes, so it is on like, if you see the based on the Upanishads, some ideas or some way of approach which has been discussed in the Upanishads has been taken and discussed in the here it is discussed in the probably in the more elaborate manner, which will help a sadhaka to get established. That's why it is called Prakarana Grantha.
Swamiji, with respect to Samit sir's question, will this shift in ourselves remain permanent till our last breath, or will it get reversed, like with no practice?
See, yes, it is a wonderful question. If you see, like a mind cannot be empty, isn't it? Either you have to think that you are a self, or you will be thinking that you are body and mind. The more and more you think of self, that you are the self, then slowly, so much amount of ignorance will be lessened. Then if you don't practice, then what happens? Knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously, the ignorance part can be increased. That's the one point, technically speaking. The other is, now somewhere because of constant practice or constant thinking, reflective thinking or Vedantic thinking, you had got some conviction that you are the self and not the body and the mind. For some reason, you stopped doing this Vedantic contemplation, meditation, and you became extremely busy in this world, in the world or worldly affairs, because of your responsibilities or because of your work or whatever. Then slowly that gets erased or it gets masked. That's the one thing. Second thing, you may be knowing that, or even when there are some dilemmas, when there are some problems, your mind may think that, your mind may remember that you are the self. But though your mind remembers it because of the earlier practices, you will not be able to stick on to that idea. You will not be able to hang on to that idea. Why? Because the other portion, the other thoughts are so forceful, so it will drag away your mind and it can pull away your mind towards the worldliness or towards the worldly thoughts, which is generally seen. Until otherwise you are well established, to a certain extent, that you are well convinced, it was well grinded in your mind, if it is so, then whether you do it or not, spiritual practice, there can be some changes, there can be some things, but still it retains back in your life. Just like, for an example, you have practiced music when you were small for a few years and you are quite, learned or exposed in the music. Then for 10-15 years, you didn't practice at all. So when you are asked to sing or when you are asked to play a particular musical instrument, maybe you may do some mistakes, never mind, but you will be able to play. And maybe in no time you will be able to pick up also because of the memo which is there in your memory, isn't it?
Yes, Swamiji. So practice, consistent practice is
the
the way.
most essential part. Swami Vivekananda's teachings is all things boils down to practice, he says. Practice, 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 he says.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Swamiji, I have a question.
Please.
That is, today we learned about Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and then we came to know about self-realization, that I am the Brahman. Now, this Brahman is absolute reality, or it's a Turiya stage?
Brahman is Turiya stage, or?
Sorry for disturbing. That is, we know that there is transactional reality, then the apparent reality, and the absolute reality. So I am the Brahman. Is that the absolute reality, or there is a fourth stage, they say, that is Turiya stage? So I would like to know the difference between that.
Yes, when you experience I am the Brahman, it is absolute reality, and as well as it is Turiya state also. Because when you are experiencing that you are the Brahman or I am the Brahman, then there are no other realities exist for you. And the experiencer and the experienced and the act of experience also doesn't exist at that given point of time. Now you experienced, and afterwards when you come out to lower level, then you may say that, okay, absolute reality and transcendental reality, avasthas, different types of existence, all these things comes into picture. But when you are experiencing you are the self, then there are no avasthas and there are no different type of realities. It is Turiya Avastha and as well as absolute reality.
Thank you, Swamiji.